The sun hung low over Lake Vyew Estates, casting a golden sheen across the serene waters of Willow Lake. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind where the neighborhood typically buzzed with the gentle hum of lawnmowers or the laughter of kids playing tag. But today, the air crackled with tension, an electric undercurrent that had everyone on edge. Officer Daniel Harper stood by the water's edge, his arms crossed, his weathered face etched with a mix of exhaustion and incredulity. Before him stood Eleanor Price, the iron-fisted president of the Lake Vyew Estates Homeowners Association, her sharp features twisted into a mask of righteous fury. She clutched a laminated binder, her sacred HOA rulebook like a general wielding a battle standard, her voice slicing through the stillness with the precision of a guillotine. "Officer, this is not just a dock," Eleanor snapped, her tone shrill enough to send a flock of sparrows scattering from a nearby oak. "It's an unauthorized, unsanctioned, unsightly blight on our community's integrity. It must be removed immediately." Harper blinked, his slow, deliberate exhale a silent prayer for patience. He glanced at the offending structure, a sturdy wooden dock extending from the shore of the lake, its planks weathered but freshly stained, a testament to someone's quiet pride. It stood there innocently, as if it, too, wondered why the police had been summoned. "Ma'am," he said, his voice dry as cracked pavement, "let me get this straight. You called 911 over a dock." The disbelief in his tone was palpable, the kind usually reserved for tales of Bigfoot sightings or folks who drenched perfectly good steak in ketchup. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered, their whispers rustling like leaves in the breeze. Eleanor, undeterred, thrust the binder forward, jabbing a manicured finger at a highlighted passage. Section 7, paragraph 12, subsection B. All lakeside modifications require prior approval from the HOA board which I chair. This is a flagrant violation. Across the lawn, leaning casually against a tree, stood Marcus Reed, the dock's owner and the unwitting spark of this wildfire. His dark hair was tousled, his flannel shirt rolled up to the elbows, and a faint smirk played on his lips as he watched the scene unfold. He'd moved into Lake Vyew Estates just a month ago, a software engineer seeking a quiet retreat from the city's chaos. The dock had been his first project, a labor of love, to reclaim a crumbling relic left by the pre-VYS owner. To Marcus, it was a place to sip coffee at sunrise, to fish on lazy afternoons. To Eleanor, it was a declaration of war. She'd ruled Lake Vyew Estates for nearly a decade, her reign marked by an unyielding obsession with order. With her cropped, ash-blonde bob and a wardrobe of crisp blazers, Eleanor was a force of nature, a hurricane in sensible heels. A mailbox an inch too close to the curb, a fine. A dog barking past 8 p.m., a citation. She'd once threatened to sue a family for planting tulips instead of the HOA-approved marigolds, claiming they disrupted the aesthetic harmony. Her binder was her gospel, and she wielded it with the fervor of a zealot. For years, the neighbors had grumbled but complied, too intimidated her, exhausted to challenge her. Until Marcus. It had started innocently enough. Eleanor's first move was a knock on his door, her smile tight and insincere. "Mr. Reed," she'd said, handing him a pastel flyer titled "Welcome to Lake Vyew Estates. Rules and Responsibilities. I notice your little project by the lake. You'll need to submit Form 14B for approval. Retroactively, of course." Marcus, polite but distracted, had nodded, thanked her, and promptly forgotten about it. The dock was already there when he bought the place. Surely it wasn't a big deal. That was his first mistake. When he ignored her follow-up and mail a tersely worded reminder of potential fines, Eleanor escalated. An anonymous note appeared in his mailbox, written in her unmistakable block letters. "Unapproved structures will not be tolerated. Comply or face consequences." Marcus, amused, tossed in the recycling bin. Then came the HOA meeting, where Eleanor stood before a handful of weary residents, her voice trembling with indignation as she declared the dock a grotesque affront to our community's standards. Marcus, who'd skipped the meeting to finish staining the planks, heard about it later from a neighbor. He shrugged. "It's just a dock," he said. "What you gonna do, call the cops?" And so she had. Officer Harper rubbed his temples, already regretting the coffee he'd skipped that morning. "Ma'am," he said, his patience fraying, "this isn't a criminal matter. A dock isn't a crime." Eleanor gasped, clutching her binder to her chest, as if he'd spat on the flag. "Not a crime? It's a direct violation of our bylaws. I have the authority, the duty to enforce these rules." She pointed at herself, her chin tilted defiantly, as if expecting the crowd to erupt in applause. Marcus chuckled, stepping forward. "You know what's funny? I checked the original HOA docs before I moved in. No mention of docs being banned. Funny how that rule popped up last week right after I finished fixing this one." Eleanor's eye twitched, a crack in her armor. "The board has the right to amend policies for the community's betterment," she shot back, her voice rising. "Rules are rules." Harper scribbled something in his notepad, his expression darkening. "And let me guess you amended it after he built the dock." Eleanor's silence was deafening. He sighed. "Ma'am, stop wasting emergency services time. If you keep making false reports, we're going to have a problem." A murmur rippled through the crowd, whispers of "she's finally losing it," and "about damn time." Eleanor's face flushed crimson as she realized she wasn't just losing the battle. She was losing her grip on the neighborhood she'd ruled with an iron fist. She glared at Marcus, her voice dripping with venom. "This isn't over, Mr. Reed. That dock will come down, one way or another." Marcus grinned. "You're welcome to try." As Eleanor stormed off, her heels clicking like gunfire on the pavement, the crowd dispersed, some shaking their heads, others laughing at the absurdity. Harper gave Marcus a weary nod. "Good luck with that one, pal." Marcus watched Eleanor disappear around the corner, already muttering about lawyers and injunctions. He had a feeling this was just the opening salvo. He was right. By Monday, a grainy video of Eleanor's meltdown filmed by a teenager with a smartphone at the internet. It spread like wildfire, racking up views on X and TikTok. The clip had it all: a furious HOA tyrant with vying her binder, a deadpan cop, and Marcus's cool defiance. Commenters dubbed her Doxilla and the Lake VYEW lunatic, while memes of her pointing dramatically captioned with "not in my HOA" flooded social media. A local news station picked it up, anchors smirking as they recounted the bizarre 911 call over an illegal dock. Marcus hadn't meant to become a folk hero, but suddenly his dock was a symbol of middle finger to petty tyranny. Eleanor, however, was undeterred. If anything, the ridicule fueled her. She tried to get the video taken down, but that only amplified the Streisand effect. Then she pivoted, hitting Marcus with a barrage of fines. His grass was unacceptably lush, his porch light too bright, his recycling bin improperly aligned. Marcus didn't fight them, paid, documented everything, and waited. He knew she'd overreach eventually. Meanwhile, the neighbors, emboldened by Eleanor's public humiliation, started talking. Mr. Patel from 2 doors down admitted she'd fined him due lot 200 for a birdhouse, calling it an unapproved wine structure. Mrs. Callahan confessed Eleanor had once threatened to ban her grandkids' lemonade stand for commercial active tie. It wasn't just the dock. Eleanor had been a one-woman plague for years. The HOA board, sensing the tide turning, called an emergency meeting without Eleanor. The discussion was tense. "She's been making rules unilaterally," said the treasurer, a soft-spoken man named Greg. "That's against our bylaws." Another member nodded. "And those fines she's issuing? Half of them never make it to the HOA account." The room fell silent. They tolerated her because she got things done, streets paved, hedges trimmed, but this was different. They voted to audit the books. Eleanor, oblivious, was plotting her next move. If the HOA wouldn't bend Marcus to her will, she'd sue him. She filed a complaint claiming the dock devalued property and posed a safety hazard, baseless, but she figured the legal hassle would break him. She underestimated Marcus. He hired a lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Lisa Tran who lived for dismantling HOA overreach. Tran countered with a discovery request, demanding EVY Denke. Eleanor had none. As the lawsuit faltered, the audit results hit like a bombshell. Over 8 years, Eleanor had siphoned $87,000 from HOA fund, small amount at first, disguised as consulting fees or event expenses, then bolder, a $3,000 office renovation for her home, $12,000 for landscaping that never happened. The board confronted her at the next meeting. Greg stood, voice steady. Eleanor, where did the $25,000 for the community gazebo go? We never built one. She stammered, deflecting, but the room turned cold. The vote to remove her was unanimous. Desperate, Eleanor tried one last gambit. She staged a protest, taping off Marcus's dock with caution tape and signs reading violation, pending removal. She even planted fake hazard cones. The next morning, neighbors gathered, laughing as kids turned the cones into a game. Marcus ripped down the tape, tossing it with a grin. Nice try. Then karma struck. Complaints about Eleanor's property, her unpermitted fence extension, her illegal shed prompted a city inspection. She was fined $1,500 and ordered to tear it all down. The crowd cheered as she fumed, clutching her violation notice. With the lawsuit dead, the HOA investigation closing in, and her presidency stripped, Eleanor's empire collapsed. She put her house up for sale, drowning in legal fees and shame. The buyer? Marcus. At closing, he smiled as she signed, defeated. This place won't be a dictator's lair anymore, he said. Think BBQs, kids playing, maybe even a dock party. As Eleanor drove away, the neighborhood exhaled. The dock, now strung with lights, stood as a beacon of defiance. Lake VYEW Estates shed her rules like old skin, rediscovering laughter and freedom. Eleanor became a cautionary tale, a meme, a punchline, while Marcus and his dock lived on, proof that sometimes standing firm is enough to topple a tyrant. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.